everyone, welcome back to Let's Talk. My name is John, and today we're going to be talking about 2023's The Flash. But before we dive into that, if you are a fan of movie reviews, 4K Blu-ray reviews, lists, and podcasts, we try and do them all here on the channel, and nothing would help this channel out more than by you just simply liking this video and subscribing to the channel. So this review is going to be non-spoiler at the very beginning, and then it's going to phase into a spoiler review for the second half. I figured I'd do that since I'm probably the last person to have their Flash review out. So I thought, hey, you know what? Why don't we talk some spoilers? But let's talk about what I thought of the film initially before we get into that. So The Flash was directed by Andy Muschietti, who directed the first two It films that came out in recent years, and both of those were really high-quality, well-made films for Warner Brothers, and I guess that's what got him the job doing this movie. This stars Ezra Miller as Barry Allen / The Flash in a dual role, in a very well performed role at that. You know, we're not here today to talk about Ezra Miller's personal life. We're here to talk about the performance that he did in this movie, and I gotta be honest, he did a damn good job as The Flash. I could see why Warner Brothers was pushing so hard to keep this movie coming out with his performance in it, because he plays both of these roles very differently. He plays the older version of Barry Allen, The Flash, a modern day version, and he also plays the younger, naive, more innocent version of Barry Allen / The Flash from 2013. A Flash doesn't have the same kind of baggage and pain that the modern Flash does, and he plays these characters both so differently and so perfectly that you have to almost admire the performance to actually believe while sitting there that even though it's the same actor on screen, he's playing dual roles, that you actually believe that they are two separate people, and the fact that he had to act against himself is just incredibly impressive. And the rest of the supporting cast in this movie does a pretty damn good job as well. Of course, what got me in the theater, what got me in my seat, was seeing Michael Keaton as Batman again. Obviously, he became the star of the promotional material for Warner Brothers, and, you know, I was worried that that was kind of just a red herring and he wasn't going to be in the movie that much. I'm happy to report that his performance in this movie is a full, fleshed out, older version of the Bruce Wayne's Batman that we knew from the Tim Burton movies back in the late 80s and early 90s. My personal favorite Batman of all time, my personal favorite superhero of all time is Batman 1989. So I was very worried that this was just going to become kind of like a fan fiction kind of deal, and that, you know, we were going to get the music playing, which we do. We get that music playing of the old Danny Elfman Batman score in there, but it still works very well. Yes, obviously they tried to replicate some of the set design, but you can't capture that tone and atmosphere that Tim Burton did back in the 1980s. But what they were asked to do in this movie, I really did appreciate it. I wasn't bothered by it. I definitely didn't feel like they hurt Michael Keaton's Batman in any way, and it also seemed like Michael Keaton was really game to do this performance. It felt like an older version of that Bruce Wayne and Batman that we knew back then, and I think that's why Michael Keaton is one of our more underappreciated actors, because he seemed to seamlessly fall back into this role. And then obviously from the trailers, we also know that Ben Affleck reappears as his Batman in here, and from what he said, that this is the first time he really understood the character. And, you know, it's not a big performance in here, but he really does, again, not phoning it in. He does a great job, even though I've always felt like his Batman character just kind of came out at like the worst possible time with the DCU. He never really got to flesh out his character like many. He kind of just got shoehorned in, just like Henry Cavill. They were just such a mess at the time that both him and Henry Cavill's characters, they were performed well. They were just in bad movies for the most part. I mean, obviously, I think Man of Steel is the best DCU movie we ever got, and that was kind of even before the DCU kind of got off the ground in a way, so it doesn't even kind of count. But this movie is also playing with, you know, multiverses and timelines, like something that we were seeing Marvel do, and we just saw Into the Spider-Verse do. Everybody has their own multiverse now, so DC has to be no different, and they handled theirs pretty well. You know, the rules are pretty simple. It doesn't become too convoluted. It, you know, obviously all multiverse movies end up becoming kind of convoluted and weighed down. This one really, you know, it kind of sticks to what it needs to stick to, and it isn't that bad. It's definitely not something you're going to get confused or lost in. Overall, as far as this film goes, I was entertained. I had a pretty good time. It definitely wasn't an outright failure. It's not the greatest DC movie since The Dark Knight, like Warner Brothers was hyping it up to be, which I get it. That's marketing. That's what they had to do. But it's still a decent time, a good trip to the movies. I had fun watching it. I definitely think it's something that you should check out, even if you don't check it out in theaters. I think it's something that you're not going to feel like you wasted your time with. So as far as my non-spoiler review score, I'm still going to give this a really solid 8 out of 10. Definitely check it out. Now, diving into spoilers. Wait for it. Wait for it. George Clooney comes back as Bruce Wayne / Batman.
I freeze. I'm Batman.
Tell me if you had that one on your bingo card. Usually the most despised Batman of all time is from Batman and Robin, George Clooney's performance. I've never felt like that personally. I always felt like the worst performance of Bruce Wayne / Batman was done by Val Kilmer. Even though I think Batman Forever is a better film than Batman and Robin, I always just felt like George Clooney, even though he's just kind of playing George Clooney, that charming debonair man, which is exactly what he does here, because in the movie they make us think it's Ben Affleck on the phone at the very end with Barry Allen. But no, it actually turns out to be the other suave Batman in George Clooney, walking out there with that gorgeous gray beard and walking up to him. And, you know, Barry Allen was like, okay, I see what's going on here. And now as far as other moments, we're just going to be bouncing around a little bit. Seeing Nicolas Cage's Batman from that unreleased Tim Burton movie was awesome as well. We've all seen that image in like that leather suit with the long hair. And they actually got Nicolas Cage to perform this role. So that's pretty cool. They just kind of did deep fake, CGI to like cover up his face and make it look like what we thought that Superman would look like. We also get CGI appearances from all the Supermans, including George Reeves, Christopher Reeves. We also get the old Supergirl that had a movie that kind of just came and went. I mean, we also get Supergirl as a character herself in this movie, performed awesomely by Sasha Calle. And I mean, people might be a little upset to know that like Henry Cavill isn't performing in this movie as well. Like, I know that a lot of people might have believed that was going to happen, or people like me who thought maybe Christian Bale was going to pop up in this movie. That doesn't happen either. The Supergirl we got is awesome. I thought she did a great job in her role. Everyone really does do a great job. Like none of them seem like they're phoning it in, except for General Zod, played by Michael Shannon, who I do love Michael Shannon. And he's come out, even since this movie's come out, just saying, like, this isn't real acting. This doesn't feel right. So he's kind of been dragging his performance through the mud himself. And it kind of does show on screen, but his performance isn't, like, the one we're really focused on. So it's understandable. But that sequence towards the very end, with seeing all the previous Batmans and Supermans just in their own timelines, I thought that was really cool. And was speaking to the fan of Batman for me. Obviously, Batman's what got me in my seat. I didn't grow up a huge fan of DC other than Batman. I knew of other DC characters, but if I was going to say I was a fan of other superheroes, they were mostly Marvel characters, but Batman has always been my favorite superhero. So to see a multiverse involving Batman, that's what got me there. But I really have to admit, I really did enjoy the rest of this movie. I enjoyed Ezra Miller's performance, as the dual Barrys and the storyline that they were going on with that. Again, like just playing both roles perfectly, traveling back through time, seeing him get his powers. We kind of get the origin story of the Flash in this movie, which is pretty damn awesome also. That origin story is not something that we had seen because the DCU was really just messed up until really now. I think now they're going to start getting focused with James Gunn's leadership, but again, we don't know what they're going to do with a lot of these characters. In the post-credit scenes, that's the only time in the movie we see Aquaman. Him and Barry Allen are out having a damn good time, but other than that, we don't know what the future is for any of these characters. We do know that just, Barry Allen could come back as the Flash. I really think it's going to depend on how this box office does, how people feel about Ezra Miller himself. So I think that is going to depend on the future of the Flash. Right now, from what the tracking numbers are, it's only looking to make about $60 million on its opening weekend. And that's really not good for a movie of this size with a $200 million budget, a movie that Warner Brothers didn't want to shove like they did Batgirl. So it was a movie that they were counting on to make them some money. I guess they do have a failsafe just in case it doesn't. That's probably not enough money, depending on the legs it has with, the summer season being what it is and just new movies coming out every week. Movies having to compete with each other. This does feel like something that's eventually going to get lost in the shuffle and probably not make its money back. So then the future of Barry Allen and the Flash really, I don't know what it's going to end up being, but I can't imagine it's going to have a sequel to this, in my opinion. Now, do I think it deserves a sequel? Yeah, it was a pretty good movie. It really wasn't that bad. It really is something that was entertaining, something that was a fun trip to the movies. Is it breaking new ground? No, it ends up falling into the same trap every single modern superhero movie does with the very end, our big third act, CGI fight scene that, again, it actually wasn't the worst one that I've seen, especially even recently with like how the MCU CGI has looked. I actually thought that this was a bit higher quality in comparison to those, and it kind of sticks to this visual style that they were going for in this movie, so it definitely wasn't offensive in that sense, but it just turns into the same thing that you have seen over and over and over again even when it's trying to hit new emotional beats. And I will admit, it does hit a really good emotional beat at the very end between Barry Allen and his mother, but just leading up to that, it's just the same thing that you've seen before, and I'm just becoming very bored of that personally. I'm just getting very superhero fatigued out. You know, it kind of upsets me to say that because it's one of my favorite genres ever, but it's just that we've gotten so much of it, and it's all just the same thing, and now everything is just becoming a convoluted mess. It doesn't have that specialty attached to it anymore. It doesn't feel big anymore. It just kind of feels like a run-of-the-mill movie that we just get all the time. You know, when you get like 5 or 6 of these a year, and when I was growing up, you know, you were lucky if you got one a year. It's just so different now that now we're just kind of watering down the product. And it really does hurt me to say that, because if you would have told young John you were going to see a movie with numerous Batmans in it, he would have told you that you were an absolute liar, and don't tease him like that. So it really upsets me to have to say that, but it's just how I feel right now. It's just, I really wish, I really kind of hope that, you know, things slow down. They have said that things are going to slow down both in Marvel and DC, so that's a good thing. I think that we all need a breather just to get our bearings back, to get our feet straight, and just get going on an organized path as far as everything goes now. We don't. I know that they're both studios that need to make money, but at this point, it's just becoming too much, and obviously the box office is illustrating how people are feeling about it, not just me, where they're just kind of feeling like you've watered down the product, and now it's time to bring back the value of it. Make some better products, put out just a good-looking, well-made movie, and that's what they should be concentrating on. I'm hoping that's what the future of both DC and Marvel is. But anyway, guys, I could definitely recommend you go to the theater and check this one out. You won't have a bad time this Father's Day weekend. If you're planning on seeing either this or Elemental, I would actually recommend Elemental over this personally, but I don't think you can go wrong either way. And if you're looking for a good horror comedy to watch, for the 45 minutes I saw of The Blackening, it seemed like it was pretty damn good too. So definitely check something out this Sunday, and if you happen to be off for Juneteenth, maybe check something out for the federal holiday if you happen to be one of the lucky people that get the day off tomorrow. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for being here with me on another episode of Let's Talk. I really appreciate all of your support. Nothing supports the channel out more than just by you simply liking this video, subscribing to the channel, throwing on your bat suit, your flash suit, whatever suit you want to throw on, and just get out in those streets and tell all your friends about us. We'll be seeing you around.